All right, welcome back to the channel. So it looks like we are not on another media circus ride from Mayweather Promotions. Leonard Ellerby has said that Keith Thurman would be knocked out by Gervonta Davis in response to questions about the fight. So it seems now that the fight could be realistic to be made. That and some statements by Keith Thurman make it appear to be so. So let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Before I get into the subject matter of the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Also, share the video, like the video. It goes a long way towards making the channel grow, and it would be greatly appreciated. So let's talk about something that personally I thought was fairy tale land. The day before yesterday, and that is Gervonta Tank Davis fighting Keith one-time Thurman. Now, there had been rumors out there that Javonte Davis wanted to fight Keith Thurman, or they had some back and forth, which would lead people to believe that, there was a fight that was potentially being made between the two. However, I and a lot of other people kind of blew that off as just kind of media talk or whatever. But yesterday, there was a series of tweets that came out from CEO Leonard Ellerby about the fight that makes it seem like it is a bit more realistic. Now, what the tweets were pretty much is that people were going to Leonard Ellerby saying that Keith Thurman would beat Gervonta Davis. And it's obvious why people would think that, because of the size difference between the two. You have Gervonta Tank Davis, who's a 130 pound fighter, 135-pound fighter, who moved up to 140 and looked like he was grossly outsized by Mario Barrios. And to think that he could move up another weight class seemed to be, and to fight somebody like Keith Thurman seemed to be, something that was just put out there in the media for views or whatever. And honestly, I still believe that very well may be the case, but it may be the case that it just comes from Mayweather Promotions, because they have been quite expert in keeping their fighters in the forefront of the media. Now, Leonard Ellerby saying that he would knock out Keith Thurman and as you can tell by the amount of conversation that's been going on, is a really great way to do that. But will he knock him out or not? I mean, you can look back and see that there is cases to be made for people that have moved up from 130 to all the way past 147, all the way up to 154, and have been successful. Certain people that I can automatically point to is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was early. Now, he probably turned pro at a very young age, so I'll leave out the 118, the 112 and 118 weight classes, but he definitely came around and became very more famous at the 130-pound weight class. 130, he had significant wins at 130. He had significant wins at 135, where he beat Marco Antonio Barrera, and I think he also at 135 might have beaten several people. Beat Juan Manuel Marquez. I think he started fighting in Juan Manuel Marquez at that weight class. I think him and the Juan Manuel Marquez fights took him all the way up to 140, I do believe. At 140, he beat Ricky Hatton. At 140, and then at 147, he beat a slew of guys that could be considered to be on the same level as a Keith Thurman, including and probably more of a washed up Oscar De La Hoya, but Miguel Cotto was somebody that he beat down there. So he's got a lot of very, very good. And then he beat Keith Thurman himself, coming up from somebody that was all the way down there at that weight class, though he did have time to acclimate himself to the weight class clearly over the years. You also have guys like, Floyd Mayweather Jr. did it. Floyd beat guys at 130 pounds like Diego Corrales, Diego Corrales, Angel Manfredi, he was fighting down there. Then he moved to 135 and he beat guys like Jose Luis Castillo. He fought Jose Luis Castillo. Then that was him moving up in weight. And I remember when I was actually looking at the fight and watching the fight, remembering how much bigger Jose Luis Castillo looked than Floyd. Matter of fact, Jose Luis, what's the other guy's name? Diego Corrales looked much, much bigger than him, even at 130. So then he moves up to 140 and then 147. At 147, he's fighting Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya has a huge size advantage on him. He had some losses similar to the losses that the one loss that Keith Thurman had. But Floyd Mayweather Jr. handled his business, handled it well at that weight class. You also have guys like Pernell Whitaker, who's moved up in weight class. I believe Pernell Whitaker was at 130 for a little while, moved up to 135, became one of the best at 135, and became excellent fighter at 147 pounds. So there's definitely, precedent set for guys that are that small, moving up in that weight. So asking whether Gervonta Davis could do that or not, I mean, I think it's fair to give Gervonta Davis the credit that these other great fighters have given. The only question is, whether or not, oh, shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot another one. Oscar De La Hoya moved from 130 all the way up to 130, up to 160. Now, I think the big difference between Gervonta Davis and everybody except for maybe Manny Pacquiao is the difference in the size, the arm length and the size of Gervonta Davis. But, it's definitely something that is not unheard of for people to do at that, at that weight class, is to move all the way up. And he was dominant. His win at 140 pounds, I wouldn't say it was a dominant performance, but he wound up getting the weight class, getting the knockout. If he was to stay at 140 for a while, let his body adjust to the weight class, with a couple more fights, and then move up to 147, and then I think that there's a greater chance of doing that. But do I think that he's actually going to do it? No, I do not believe that he's going to do it because Gervonta Davis himself seems very hesitant to move up there with guys that big. He said, in being asked about the fight, he was like, or texting, tweeting. He tweeted something out about what he thought about it, which is like, man, my people think that I'm Superman, right? Now that could be taken two ways. You can say, yeah, people think I'm Superman, like as in I am Superman and people recognize it, or I'm Superman and people think I'm Superman and they're wrong. You could take that tweet two different ways, but I'm going to be now that Leonard Ellerby is defending this proposition, I'm going to be very interested to see what he does and whether or not he's serious about fighting somebody in there. I still say that I have doubts about it because he doesn't have a Spanish last name, but I guess every once in a while you got to break your cycle or something, right? But we'll see whether or not Leonard Ellerby is serious about, because if he thinks that he can knock Keith Thurman out, we'll see if he does it. In the same statement, he still says he's not at 147, but he could knock him out if he was at 147. Well, if you can do it, let's see it. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.